Welcome back to Keep It Real Boxing. This is Cypherbox, and on the back of Errol Spence Jr.'s win over LAMONT PETERSON last night, kind of want to talk about this subject again, which is Keith Thurman. Now, as you can see from the screen, he put a tweet out saying, I see you, young buck, be patient, your time is coming. Errol Spence, in his ring interview, was asked what did he want next, and he said, well, you know what I want, everyone knows what I want. I want Keith sometime Thurman. He said, I've wanted him for a long time, I've been calling him out since I was 15-0, but that guy don't want anything, basically. Now, I have spoken about this in the past. I spoke about this whole situation in my video regarding the welterweight division. You know, if you haven't watched that, then go and watch that. And I'm going to say the same thing again, which is, a lot of people are saying, and remember, I look at things from an unbiased point of view. A lot of people are going to look at things from a biased point of view. You're going to have Errol Spence Jr. fans, you know, people who don't like Keith Thurman. Then you're going to have people who are Keith Thurman fans who don't like Errol Spence Jr. First off, I like both these fighters. Yeah, I enjoy both their fights. I always said this, I don't have favourite fighters. I am a fan of the sport of boxing, you know. And yes, I want to see the best fight the best. I want to see champions versus champions. I want to see undisputed champions. And when you have the kind of mindset that I have when it comes to the sport, which is I don't have favourite fighters, I'm able to see things clearly and from an impartial point of view. Now, a lot of people are thinking, you know, in their head, a lot of people are saying that they believe that this fight should be the next fight for Thurman. You know, he's come back, you know, he's coming back in April, from what I understand. And, you know, a lot of people think immediately he should get in the ring with Errol Spence Jr. So let's talk about that. Let's not forget he's been off for a year. He hasn't fought since Danny Garcia. Yeah? Since then, he picked up an injury. Like I said, he even got married. You know, he's had a long layoff. He's had a 12-month layoff. Yeah, and you don't, when you have a long layoff like that, you don't just jump straight back into the thick of things with, you know, one of the most dangerous welterweights out there. And this is not me making excuses. You know, hear what I have to say before you switch off and make, you know, some sort of negative comment. Now, Thurman says he needs a tune-up fight. He needs to feel out his injury. He needs to get back into the flow of things, of course, which I totally agree with. I think it would be really stupid of him to just jump back into the thick of things with the likes of Errol Spence Jr. or a Terence Crawford, for example. And he still seems to be nursing his injury a little bit. Obviously, he's cautious because of that. You know, he hasn't had a competitive fight in a year, and he's had this injury he's had to deal with on top of that. Now, Thurman has also turned around and said, of course, let's not forget, Thurman has turned around and said that he feels he needs the tune-up fight. He feels then he wants to meet his obligations to his mandatory challenger for his WBC belt, which is Sean Porter, and then he thinks the fight will happen in 2019. He's received a lot of criticism about this, obviously, because people believe, well, once you've had your tune-up, just get in the ring with Errol Spence Jr. Okay, let's get into the mind of a fighter first. Okay, it's not as simple as that. I think what a lot of people fail to do is they fail to look at all the information that's provided to them, and they fail to look at things from different angles. Some people are narrow-minded and they can only see things one way and one way only. Oh, he's ducking him, he's scared of him. Alright, so let's get into this first. Let's get into the mind of a fighter who's coming back after a year layoff and an injury, yeah, which has kept him out. I don't think Keith Thurman, as I've said before, is scared of Errol Spence, but he's cautious. Yeah, he's cautious in his approach, and that's not because he's scared of Errol Spence Jr. I think that's down to the fact that there may be a little case of lack of confidence and doubt in himself. And I don't mean in the sense of that he can't beat Errol Spence Jr. or anything like that. I'm talking about doubt in the sense of his injury. Has it healed up properly? Is he in the right physical place and condition to take on the likes of an Errol Spence Jr. at this moment in time? Does he need to feel his shoulder injury out a little bit, you know, have that tune-up fight, then maybe go on and fight someone like Sean Porter, who he's beat before, and he feels that, well, that's a fight I think I could comfortably win again. And it's a fight, a competitive fight, that can get me prepared well for Errol Spence Jr. I also believe that Thurman will probably want another fight after Sean Porter, just to prepare himself for Errol Spence Jr. He'll probably want another competitive fight, and that's more, I think, the case of a lack of confidence and a bit of doubt in terms of his injury. And I'm going to give you some examples of what I'm talking about. So let's talk about a most recent example. Let's look at James DeGale versus Truax. James DeGale recently lost his IBF super middleweight title of the world, which, from what I understand, he's obviously asked for the rematch. But when you look at that fight, he went into that fight sounding, looking, even from his training camp, feeling confident. When he got into the ring, his most important tool, which is his jab, because James DeGale does everything off the jab, he barely used it. And that's because there was a lack of belief in his shoulder, that his shoulder injury had healed up. There was a worry that, okay, if I put my jab out there, if I start using it, overusing it, am I going to get injured again? Yeah, it's a psychological thing. Yeah, it's only natural to think that. Sorry to say, but it's true. Now I'm going to give you another example. Let's talk about Andre Ward. Okay, now Andre Ward had a long layoff due to an injury. I think his injury was his shoulder injury as well, if you remember right. And when he came back, he fought Paul Smith Jr., which a lot of people had a catch weight of 172 pounds. Okay, a lot of people were criticising him on that choice of opponent, etc. and stuff like that. But the reason he chose that opponent was because he wanted to feel out his injury. He wanted to make sure he was comfortable. It wasn't just about gradually progressing himself into light heavyweight. It was also to feel out the injury. He's been out for a long time. I think it was 2 years he was out for. So when you've had a long layoff due to an injury, you want to come back, you want to be smart, you don't want to push it too hard, too fast, too quick. Because you could end up putting yourself in a position where you injure yourself again. And then you're back to square one. Or you do what James DeGale did, and you stepped into the ring into a fight too early, too soon, and you get beat because there's this lack of belief or confidence in yourself. Going back to Andre Ward then fought Sullivan Barrera, which was a bit more of a competitive fight, but again, another fight where he needed to feel himself out. And once he had that fight, he was probably a lot more confident at that point. Had another tune-up fight against Alexander Brand, and then he was like, I'm good, I'm ready, bring on Sergey Kovalev. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Okay, it's a psychological thing with fighters. When they have an injury, where they've had to have a long layoff due to it, some fighters don't immediately feel confident that they're ready to make a ring return against the top guys. They feel they need a bit of time to feel it out and build that confidence back up. So when you're thinking about these things, use a bit of common sense, use a bit of logic. Don't just quickly throw out there. People are so quick and narrow-minded and so quick to say he's ducking him, he's afraid of him. You know, it's not necessarily the case. Get into the mind of a fighter first. And that's what I think is going on with Keith one-time Thurman. Now, say Thurman has his tune-up fight in April, fights Sean Porter, and then maybe has one more competitive fight. At that point, if Thurman then doesn't step into the ring with Errol Spence Jr., I will probably start saying to myself, I won't even probably say it, I'll say it out loud in my videos, which is, you know what, now you're ducking him. Now you're making me, now it seems like you're afraid of Errol Spence Jr. I'm not going to jump the gun and say it right here, right now, when he hasn't even had a tune-up fight yet. Okay? My point is, analyze everything, guys. Take the emotion out of it. A lot of you go on emotion and your loyalty for your favourite fighters. Yeah? You don't stop and think with a rational mindset, a clear mindset, a unbiased mindset. Use logic and common sense and get into the mind of a fighter when you're making your comments. Take the emotion out of it is what I'm basically saying. Don't get me wrong, if he has a tune-up fight and then has a competitive fight against Sean Porter and then he decides, well, I may need one more fight before I get into the ring with Errol Spence Jr. and after that third fight he still doesn't get into the ring with Spence, then you know what? I'm going to start questioning him. But right now I'm not going to do it. I want to wait and see what kind of Keith one-time Thurman is returning to the ring? Is he still the same guy that he was, the same fighter that he was before his injury and before his layoff? Don't get me wrong, I see a lot of channels out there making videos saying the opposite to what I'm saying. But a lot of those channels, in my opinion, are biased because their favourite fighter is Errol Spence Jr. You know, unlike me, I don't pick favourite fighters. That's why I'm able to look at things from the point of view, from this point of view, this unbiased point of view I take. A lot of you are probably still going to think I'm being biased, but I'm not. You know, I'm using my brain, I'm using logic, I'm using common sense. Yeah, I'm analysing the situation. Look, this fight has to happen at some point. If Keith Thurman is going to remain a champion, then he can't avoid this. I don't see anyone else beating Errol Spence Jr. at any time soon. I think Errol Spence Jr.'s biggest threats are Thurman and Crawford, if I'm honest with you. But first we've got to wait and see what Crawford can really do at 147. Don't get me wrong, terrific fighter. You know, fighter of the year last year for ESPN, undisputed champion at 140. He has more than proved himself in those divisions. I think he'll convincingly beat Jeff Horn and pick up the WBO title. But what we want to see is basically what I'm saying is when he goes in with the more serious opponents, the top contenders and champions in the division, that will tell the story of whether he's going to do well in this division or not. Because you got to remember the welterweight division is more competitive than 140 and 135 when Terence Crawford was in those divisions. Let's be honest. And in boxing, you never know how it's going to play out or how it's going to work out. You know, sometimes it works out exactly how you want it to work out, which is we all want to see Terence Crawford do well at 147. We want to see those fights against Spence and Thurman, etc. But sometimes it can go horribly wrong. You know, sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want it to work out. So, like I said, we just got to wait to see Crawford step into the ring at 147, and then we'll know. Okay, guys, that's all I've got for you on this one. As always, guys, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, this is Cypherbox reminding you to keep it real.